Review. Like its hero, Reacher Season 2's premiere episode ATM wastes no time. More than a year after the series premiered on Prime Video, Reacher, starring Alan Ritchson, is back with a new adventure. Adapted from the book series by British author Lee Child, Jack Reacher is a former special investigator with the U.S. Army Criminal Investigation Division, otherwise known as the military police even soldiers are afraid of. While the first season kept this detail in the background, Season 2 puts Reacher and his former unit squarely in the foreground. It's not the only change, and Season 2 sometimes feels like a completely different show than the previous outing. Since The Killing Floor, the book adapted for Season 1, debuted in 1997, Child has published 28 Jack Reacher novels. Season 2 is based on the 11th book in the series, Bad Luck and Trouble, a departure from the more episodic mysteries Reacher usually involves himself in. The premise of the season is the same as the novel. While living his wandering lifestyle, Reacher discovers a deposit in his bank account in an amount reminiscent of military radio distress call code. After a brief detour rescuing a mother and her son from a carjacker, Reacher gets in touch with his comrade Francis Neagley, with Maria Sten reprising the role from Season 1. From there, it's off to the races as the two investigate a deeply personal mystery. Any fan of the book series understands that Reacher is a man of few words. While Child had 10 books to establish Reacher as a man who keeps the world, including his friends, at a distance, the Season 2 premiere episode is direct and explicit with this revelation. One of his former soldiers, Calvin Franz, played by Luke Billick, was found mangled in a forest. Reacher figures out in meticulous detail the way in which Franz was killed simply by glancing at crime scene photos and a police report. Yet he is woefully ill-informed about the lives his former team leads. He has more questions than answers about the kind of details friends usually know about each other. Like in Season 1, Reacher starts out at a disadvantage. Reacher knows what a good commanding officer knows about his troops. Everything from their skill sets to the details of their lives before the service. Yet, since he left the army to see the country on his terms, he's become disconnected from the only people he cares about. A scene early in the episode, as Neagley fills him in, underscores the way his drifter lifestyle cuts him out of the loop on the team of special investigators. When it becomes clear they are under threat, Reacher feels far more guilty about this than he did about the death of his own brother last season. He's not his brother's keeper, especially since the late Joe is older than him. He still feels a sense of responsibility for the people under his command, even though he's technically not their commanding officer anymore. Visually, Reacher's Season 2 also looks different from Season 1, another seemingly intentional choice. The first scenes have the same warm light quality as much of the Margrave adventure did. Once the action moves from Middle America to New York City, the color grading shifts to a cooler gray palette. It seems to evoke more than just the shift from the wide-open roads Reacher travels to smoggy, cramped city life. It adds a moribund pallor to the threat facing the former members of the 110th Special Investigations Unit, a threat Reacher and Neagley might be too late to stop. Late in the episode, another character from Reacher's past shows up, David O'Donnell, played by Sean Sipos. Neither Neagley nor Reacher can get in touch with their comrades, leading them to fear the worst. O'Donnell was in the woods and out of touch on vacation with his family, another subtle reinforcement of how distant from each other the individual members of the unit became. It also suggests that, due to the personal nature of the case, Reacher isn't as sharp as he was last season. Franz is from Pittsburgh, PA, evidenced by his pirate's keychain and the name of his firm, Three Rivers Consulting and Associates. Yet it's Neagley who suggests a Pittsburgh connection to Fran's password, noting, truthfully, how people from the Steel City never stop talking about it. It's O'Donnell, however, who guesses Fran's password is something he loves even more, Reacher himself. Season 1 featured a handful of flashbacks to Reacher's past, though most were focused on his relationship with his brother. Naturally, Season 2 scenes set in the past are all about the Special Investigators Unit, including their first night as a unit. Even as a soldier, Reacher wasn't very keen on following the rules. He set up a situation in which the unit would be forced to get into a bar fight, knowing it would serve as a bonding exercise. The unit takes a group photo, copies of which were framed in Fran's office and the home of Tony Swan, another missing member. In an investigation, assumptions get you killed is a common Reacher aphorism. His conclusions are usually drawn from facts and knowledge about things like forensics or criminal behavior. However, some of the conclusions he draws in ATM feel more like assumptions. Like in Season 1, he's angry, but he also seems unsettled. This is a case where the show jumping ahead of the books works in the series' favor. Viewers may not notice the subtle ways Reacher is a step behind the way book readers would. It allows the supporting characters like O'Donnell and Neagley to get out of Reacher's ample shadow. They are still trying to impress the man who trained them, which allows Reacher to be more vulnerable and fallible than fans may expect. It humanizes the character more, making him feel less like a superhero. The dynamic is markedly different from his alliance with Oscar Finley and Roscoe Conklin, played in Season 1 by Malcolm Goodwin and Willa Fitzgerald, respectively. Reacher kept surprising them, but Neagley and O'Donnell know exactly what he's capable of. When Reacher first hit Amazon Prime in 2022, it quickly became a runaway success, capturing the spirit of Lee Child's long-standing Jack Reacher novels, while introducing a hard-hitting, no-nonsense protagonist to a new generation. Season 2 opens with a bang in the episode ATM, and like its hero, it wastes no time getting down to business. The show has evolved, but it hasn't lost what made it a standout in the crowded landscape of TV thrillers, sharp pacing, brutal action, and a singular focus on Jack Reacher himself. A strong start the opening of ATM sets the tone for the entire season, fast-paced, tightly plotted, and unapologetically action-heavy. Jack Reacher, played once again by Alan Ritchson, doesn't mince words or take his time. He enters the scene like a storm. After all, this is a man who, by his very nature, is always on the move. The episode title, ATM, is fitting not only for the setting of the first significant confrontation, but also as a metaphor for how quickly the plot begins dispensing tension, much like the cash from a machine. As the episode kicks off, Reacher finds himself embroiled in a violent confrontation at an ATM, an incident that rapidly spirals into something far more complex. What looks like a random mugging is soon revealed to have connections to a larger criminal conspiracy, one that threatens to pull Reacher deeper into danger. The show doesn't dwell on exposition. Reacher rarely stays in one place long enough for that. Instead, it's a swift escalation from brawling in the street to chasing down leads that link to the overarching mystery of the season. Alan Ritchson shines again. Alan Ritchson once again embodies the physicality and intensity that fans expect from Jack Reacher. Where Tom Cruise's version in the 2012 Jack Reacher movie was lean and tightly wound, Ritchson's portrayal is more in line with the character's description in the books, tall, muscular, and imposing. His Reacher is a human battering ram with a surprising intelligence behind his steely exterior. In ATM, Ritchson shows he's still capable of delivering the kind of charismatic stoicism that makes Reacher such a compelling lead. Ritchson's Reacher doesn't waste words or motions. His performance is economical, just like the writing of the show itself. His punches hit hard, and his sense of justice is even harder. Throughout the episode, the camera lingers on his imposing frame, highlighting just how intimidating he can be even when he's not fighting. And when the action hits, it's visceral. The fight choreography in ATM is relentless, making each punch, kick, and throw feel consequential. Reacher's brutal efficiency in dispatching his opponents never feels like gratuitous violence. It's a necessary part of the character's philosophy: get the job done, move on.